Hey everyone, Jim Branscombe here for the Cinematic Void Vlog. This episode I'm recapping a bunch of events I hosted between June and July of 2022. And up first I'm going to talk about the most recent one, which was at Midsummer Scream, where I got to do a special sneak preview of the WNUF Halloween sequel, aka Out There Halloween Mega Tape. If you don't know what Midsummer Scream is, it's kind of a Halloween-centric horror convention. They have exhibits from haunters, like home haunters, professional haunters. They have like little mini haunted houses, as well as, merch you can buy, celebrities, that kind of stuff. Friday is when we hosted the WNUF Halloween sequel. It was in Horrorbuzz's Screaming Room. We have a packed house, and before we could get started, I brought out the Spirit of Halloween, played by Deanna Rooney, to get the crowd pumped up.
Now, you look a little different than you do when you take over abandoned circuit cities and Pier 1s.
Oh, that's Bobby. He's the face. You always gotta have a good face for a good business. These guys know what's up.
I mean, what the fuck happened?
Oh, Jim, see, it's been a hard year.
I mean, you look like the broken spirit of Halloween. It's not going to get anyone up, excited here.
Well, I was hoping for dropping by here, maybe you guys could lift my spirit a little.
I've never heard of a mustache causing, pain. It's like, where's the pain at in a mustache?
Jim, I'm a mess.
No kidding. So, why don't we help the spirit of Halloween by bringing some 90s spirits? So, everyone shout out their favorite 90s kind of Halloween-y thing. Just start shouting. Run! Just keep shouting. The more of a clusterfuck it is, it's better. Just shout your nice shit. Dr. Dennis, what?
Joe Bob!
I don't know if you raised the spirit or killed the spirit. You might have killed the mustache.
I killed my mustache.
After the film, writer-director Chris LaMartina and co-producer and actor Melissa LaMartina joined me on stage for a Q&A as we talked about all things Out There Halloween Mega Tape.
Which brings me up to how much of a callback did you feel like you had to make to the original WNUF?
So, what I'll say is interesting is, there's a lot of people that love the first one, and I'm very honored by that. It's really, everything else is kind of bonus, right? You make a movie that people watch every October, it's, cool. Anything else, movie-wise, it's, a bonus. And I feel for that, I wanted to have some through lines of culture. Trying to figure out, and that was fun for me, figuring out which characters, okay, pick any minor character in WNUF. In the back of my head, I would be I can tell you what happened to them 15 years later.
The screening was a huge success, and then on Sunday, I went back just to kind of take in the things I missed on Friday because I was, doing the screening. So I checked out some of the vendors, as well as several of the mini haunts that were featured in the hall shadows. Although this was an avoid event, I also moderated a Q&A for the brand new film Allegoria. In person was filmmaker Spider One, as well as Chrissy Fox and other stars from the movie. If you want to check it out, it's available on Shudder now, but here's a little clip from the Q&A I did.
All right, Spider, first question. What was the genesis of Allegoria?
Well, it started as, my day job is a musician, so I tour in a band, and when all music stopped, I was kind of super happy for about 6 months, and I started going crazy bored, right? So we were sitting around the house, and we should make a movie, we should probably make a movie or something. And the first section of this film that we did was with John, the acting scene, and it really was just meant to be a standalone thing. But this concept of art and horror and your ego and your insecurities manifesting these horrible things and how they could be passed along to other creatives just kept coming back to me. I was like, well, what about a painter? What about a band? What about so we just started to conceptualize all these different stories and intertwine them.
For most of June and July, I brought back Camp Void for the first time in theaters since 2019 over at the Los Feliz 3 through the American Cinematheque. I kicked things off with Blood Games, which was the first time that on the Cinematic Void podcast we talked about a movie that directly kind of influenced, me showing it. For this year's Camp Void, I ended up avoiding summer camp movies and did a lot of kind of rural horror and, just basically the great outdoors, the great scary outdoors it is. After Blood Games, I followed it up with a 35mm presentation of The Blair Witch Project, and I had two guests for this. During the introduction, one of the trees from The Blair Witch Project made a special appearance.
So, what?
Hold on!
Who the fuck are you?
The Blair Witch curse lives on! Jim, you can't escape.
Why do you know my name?
I emailed you.
You did? How do you email when you have, Twix for hands?
Jason, get with the
Okay,
program.
alright.
We all know how to use internet these days, right? Yeah. You may remember me, those of you who have watched this film over and over again, like the good little sports that you are. Uncredited Tree featured number 2! All your favorite film moments in this freaking film is me.
But that wasn't all. Also had a pre-recorded Q&A with filmmaker Eduardo Sanchez. I'm originally from Maryland, and one of the things that kind of grabbed me the most about this film is the folklore and the legend behind it. And when I first started hearing about the Blair Witch Project coming out, how the hell did I never hear about this? This sounds completely real. Can you talk about a little bit how you guys came up with the mythology behind it?
Yeah, I mean, we needed we had to have a reason for the filmmakers to be out there, so we had to create this mythology, and so we were Salem witch trials were just a lot kind of inspirational, not really inspirational, but we borrowed from that kind of tragedy. And we just thought, what if there was a woman who was, accused of witchcraft or doing something, practicing medicine or something strange, whatever. And she's banished, from this town in the middle of the winter, and she dies, but they never find her body. And then weird things start happening in this, town. So we created this little kind of revenge story of this woman, done wrong, and then what her spirit or whatever the hell it is does to this town.
Next on the Camp Void slate was a movie I've been wanting to screen for a while, The Legend of Boggy Creek, which was a movie that kind of inspired the Blair Witch Project and also kicked off a big, boom in Bigfoot cinema in the 70s.
The movie you're seeing tonight is presented as a documentary. Even though everything in the movie is not real, it's all recreations. So it's kind of proto, as I said, unsolved mysteries. And when it came out, it was a huge hit, especially for an independent film. It's rated G, which is pretty good for a Bigfoot movie, because if you think years later when you get to Night of the Demon, which is the most, if you see Night of the Demon, you know why. Just leave it at that. The most violent Bigfoot movie. But this one actually scared a lot of people because it felt real. Because everyone that appears in this movie, for the most part, are retelling their actual stories of seeing this monster in the movie.
On the 4th of July, I kicked one off my bucket list by finally showing one of my all-time favorite movies, Roller Coaster. If you've never seen Roller Coaster, it's kind of one of the Universal disaster type movies. It was also presented originally in Sense-Around.
Your attention, please. In the following presentation, you will feel, as well as see and hear, realistic effects. The management assumes no responsibility for the physical or emotional reactions of the individual viewer.
But this movie, again, it could only happen in the 70s. You couldn't have a movie starring a theme park safety inspector. That is not a lead character in any movie now. And that's what I really enjoy about it, because George Segal, he's trying to quit smoking and all kinds of stuff. It's very, very 70s by design.
Although we weren't able to show Roller Coaster on 35mm, we were, however, able to show a 35mm trailer for the film in front of the Blair Witch Project and Blood Games. Speaking of roller coasters, I followed up Roller Coaster with one of my all-time favorite batshit Italian zombie movies.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing tonight?
I don't think you know what you're in for,
So you need to act like you know what you're in for. How's everyone doing tonight?
Cinematic Void. I'm your host, Jim
Branscombe, and tonight we are showing one of the greatest achievements in cinema history, Roberto Lindsay's Nightmare City, aka City of the Walking Dead. Who here has not seen this movie? Sorry in advance. Well, I say that because out of all the Italian, although Lindsay didn't consider this a zombie movie, but let's just keep it generic. Out of all the Italian zombie movies that came out after Dawn of the Dead, this one might be the most insane.
Whether you consider the beings in Nightmare City zombies or not, we still threw a zombie dance contest and gave away an original poster thanks to our friends at Frame Monster Design Lab. And I don't want to forget, it also includes a Hall of Fame dummy drop. For the last 2 weeks of Camp Void, I went a little more deep cut, and I showed a rare print of a 1976 regional horror film shot in Vermont called Dark August. This print was one of the most beautiful prints I've ever seen.
It features psychic attacks. It features a little girl getting hit by a car.
Hell yeah.
I'm glad that's the hell yeah is, like, little girl hit by the car.
And then for the final Camp Void screening, we showed an underrated but really terrific slasher, Sweet 16. But before we could get the print rolling, we had just some random weirdo show up that wanted to throw a Sweet 16 party for me.
I'm sorry, hi. I was just walking down the street and I heard y'all talking about Sweet 16s. Hi, y'all.
Okay, who are you?
I'm Rita Lynn from Rita Lynn Enterprises, and I just want you all to know that I'm here for all your future Sweet 16 needs.
Well, I think you're a little late because her birthday just passed and mine was like 26 years ago, so it's kind of hard to go Sweet 16 for anyone.
Oh, these guys are eventually going to have 16-year-olds somewhere, sometime, right?
Maybe not in this climate.
Oh, listen, Jim, I mean, like, you said your Sweet 16 was terrible, right?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I went to, I guess, like, supposed to go to Chuck E. Cheese, which is weird to go when you're 16, and then, like, they didn't have any tokens, and the pizza was burnt, and then I just went home and cried. Because I wanted, like, a new Sega Genesis game or something.
See, this is the problem, is that too much pressure is put on to the male clientele.
This wraps up this edition of the Cinematic Void vlog. Thanks for watching. Until next time, see you in the void.